Alright, John the Limo Guy here, and I am on Park Avenue, and I'm just crossing 56th Street. No, actually, this is 56th. I was crossing 55th. So crossing 57th Street here, it's a major cross street, and I'm going north, I'm going uptown. And I thought that I'd talk a bit as I drive and just sort of take a drive into Harlem. It's been a couple of years since I've posted one of my sort of driving tour videos, and I thought this would be a nice opportunity. Today's date, by the way, is August 31st, 2015. To our left here is the Christ Church, which is a Methodist church. As you can see by the architecture, it is sort of Byzantine / Romanesque, but it's thoroughly modern. Above that rose window, that archway with the 7 arches. That's an additional floor that's above the sanctuary level, and lots of New York City churches do that. They put floors for school, classrooms, office space, social gathering space above the vault of the nave or sanctuary. Here's another couple of churches here. Here's the Christian Science Church, and then the Gothic style church is Central Presbyterian. Central Presbyterian also they have at least a couple of floors above their sanctuary. So traveling north on Park, and this is sort of a posh area. This is the Armory right here. And of course we're between 66th and 67th Street, and I don't want to be behind a truck, so I'm just going to pull up here. And we're continuing north. Most of the buildings north of 59th Street are residential. There is some light. I don't know if there is some commercial buildings. There are buildings that belong to institutions, but not necessarily to businesses or commerce. Just passing number 715 Park, and passing 71st Street now. Continuing uptown. So uptown is north with reference to Manhattan. Everything here is east. So we're on the Upper East Side right now. By the way, the dividing line between east and west addresses in Manhattan is 5th Avenue. If you're east of 5th, then it's an east address. If you're west of 5th, then you have a west address, such as 109 West 57th Street is west of 5th Avenue. This van in front of me is some sort of television van. It has the equipment to excuse me folks, I'm just going to see if I can arrange this so it's a little bit more straight. There we go. I'm just going to try and fall back a little bit. One of the big problems of driving in New York is just having a vehicle in front of you that completely obliterates your view. And whereas the van doesn't completely obliterate it, I think it's pretty much an eyesore. Most of the buildings on both the left and right side of the avenue here are apartment buildings. They are very, very, very exclusive. You are pretty much in the absolute heights of you know, monetary I don't know what I'm trying to say except monetary cash when you're up here. These buildings look kind of plain, but believe me, some of the most fabulous apartments are behind these walls. I'm also going to, as soon as I start moving, pan the camera towards the left. We have two important churches coming up here. First one here at Park and 84th, which is St. Ignatius Loyola. It's a huge Roman Catholic church. It's notable for its organ as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. But another one here is the Park Avenue Christian Church, which is this one here on the corner of East 85th and Park. St. St. Ignatius Loyola, just passing 86th Street, major thoroughfare. St. Ignatius Loyola has a organ that was built by M.P. Mander, organ builders of London, England. It is the largest, at least at the time it was built, it was the largest British tracker action organ built outside of the British, not built, but imported outside of the British Isles, and perhaps the largest British-made tracker action organ, at least at that time. The Park Avenue Christian Church, the second church, houses a Holtkamp organ from, I believe, the early 1980s. That too, if I'm not mistaken, is a tracker action organ, although it has electric stop action. A Holtkamp is a nice organ. I'm not a huge raging Holtkamp fan, so it's not good to ask me about what I think of Holtkamp's tonal qualities. Although the fact is, like MP Molars, they seem to run the gamut sometimes. Here's another church coming up. This one is the Brick Presbyterian Church, and we're at 91st Street and Park Avenue. And I can see that this is rapidly becoming sort of a church tour. Crossing East 93rd. If you notice now, Park, we were going sort of uptown, and I mean sort of, well, definitely going uptown, but we were going up a hill. Now we're at the very top of the hill. We're at East 94th Street, and as soon as we cross this street, we're going to start a slow descent downward. In the very, very far distance, you might not even be able to see it because this is an ultra-wide angle lens, but you will see railroad tracks, which is the New Haven line coming out of Grand Central Station. We've been Park Avenue is built on top of railroad tracks, by the way, coming from Grand Central Terminal. And by the way, it's Grand Central Terminal, not station, because it is the terminating point in New York for the railroad lines that it services. So we're just crossing 96th right now. Now 96th Street, if you start to look at the buildings, you will notice a sharp change in the type of building. You'll notice that they're more humble, smaller apartment houses. These are projects right here. For those who don't know what a project is, in Britain it would be called council housing. It's basically rent-controlled, subsidized housing. So we're getting closer and closer to Harlem. In fact, a lot of people would classify this as Harlem. I don't know. I'm sort of old school, and I've always learned that Harlem sort of begins at 110th Street. That's its southern boundary. Its northern boundary for me is 155th Street, and it basically runs river to river. So it's the entire width of the island. This this stone wall is actually the railroad tracks that have emerged from the ground after 96th Street. So we have the New Haven line of the railroad running here, and let's see, what street are we on? It doesn't really say. We're probably at about 103rd, 104th Street. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a short side trip here, and we'll drive by another church that is an interesting church. And, you know, for the sake of continuity, I'm going to stop it and start it right now.